team, welcome to 10 Talks. So today's topic is all about the power of purpose for well-being, great organizations on purpose, great people on purpose, and it is my joy to introduce to you two new colleagues of mine. I've joined their team to really promote the power of purpose because we believe in it so much for your well-being. So I'd like for you to meet our guests today. It's Mark and Neil joining us. They've launched a new company. Mark, go ahead and tell us the power of your story. I know we started as you're one of our sports life coaches. We've been able to work together for many, many years. We've gone from rugby to purpose. So what an incredible journey.
Yeah, thanks, Carlette. It has been a great journey, and obviously very much enjoyed working with you on all the things that we've done together. But I suppose my story kind of rewinds all the way back to when I was 12 years old, I think. And as all 12-year-olds do, you're kind of keeping yourself busy at school, which for me was largely playing sports and having fun with my mates. And I suppose academic stuff, homework stuff was just one of those things you had to do to be at school. It wasn't something I was really applying myself towards until the head coach and also who happened to be the headmaster or principal of the school came up to me after a trial rugby match and called me over at the end of practice, and I was like, oh gosh, what have I done? And he asked me to captain the rugby team, and I remember looking up at him and just saying, why? And he said because you lead from the front, and I need somebody that can lead from the front. And if you rewind all the way back to there, that was essentially the seed that got sown for what came next in my sort of professional career. I went home and told my dad, Dad, I've been asked to captain the rugby team. And Dad said, well done, I'm proud of you, but if you're going to lead on the field, you've got to lead off the field. And so it literally almost overnight, the combination of somebody believing in me and somebody giving me a friendly kick up the backside was all I needed to completely change my entire educational trajectory. And I started excelling in the classroom, excelling on the field, and fast forward, went to a great university, got a good job, ended up in the US and got the opportunity to play for the USA national rugby team against England in 2003, which was just a massive aha moment for me. Working in a bank at the time where it was just crazy busy working, training 3 mornings a week, 6 evenings a week, no time to even think. To get out of the work environment and just be focused on practice and play and performance gave me the space to come back to that aha moment to be like, oh wow, that one thing that somebody did, and then the rugby being this vehicle for me to learn and believe in myself and start applying those skills on and off the field, as my dad had said, inspired me to say, well, actually, banking's fine, and I like the people I work with, but I'm really passionate about kids and education. My parents run their own businesses, and I love rugby. How can I combine all of that into something special? And I set up a charity called Play Rugby USA, and that's, as you know, how we met. And fast forward 12 years later, I sort of worked on it part-time, committed myself to it full-time in 2006. We served probably over 25,000 kids, can't really count because we weren't measuring them all at the beginning. Had some transformational impact with some young people, and it was really an incredibly rewarding journey. And I've been, up until now, involved in rugby professionally. But looking back on it, that career move that I took and that leap from banking to something very purpose-driven was how I discovered my purpose. And that's what we'll be bringing and highlighting a little bit today via PurposeFused, which we'll talk about in a few minutes.
Excellent. So Neil, how did you get into this team? Tell us about your journey.
Well, I'm not an international athlete, so I've got to wonder about that. Maybe I got drafted at the back of the queue or something. I don't know. But so that's
what the power of team is all about. Everybody playing their position and their strengths.
Yeah, well, actually, it was Mark's dad that said to me, I'm going to give you a kick up the backside if you don't do something. So anyway, no, I'm here because I think I've always been something that I classed, and I never really knew way back when at school or whatever that I was a people person. Only I think that through my university experience and then going to work, I did 10 years in London as a headhunter and then another 10 years in human resources. And I think through that journey, you know, for me, it was pretty apparent very early on that I was I liked engaging with people, and I liked kind of enabling people to kind of do the best that they could. And I got, I would like to say, almost as big a buzz out of it as they did when we either worked on a successful piece of work or we got a great outcome. You know, there's nothing better than someone phoning you up and saying, you know what, I'm just giving you a call because I just wanted to say thanks very much for making a real difference, and let me tell you what I'm going to do about that for myself. You know, and I got a real buzz out of that early on with, you know, working in the recruitment industry, which was an exciting place to be, you know, in the late 90s, early thousands in London. I'm still here to tell the tale, so that was good.
Yeah, but you're still here.
Yeah, just yeah. But you know, after that period of time, when I moved internally into various roles in human resources, from organizational development and human resources director and leadership roles, you know, I think that my kind of wider appreciation of things like purpose and all of the contributing components of that, and that's the way I look at it. I don't look at it as one thing. I think that there's so many things which contribute to purpose, and whether or not you live that, and all of the various different factors which come into whether or not that's influencing how you view something, or how you behave, or how you operate, or how you process it, or how you engage with it, or, you know, there's a long stream of things that, you know, you kind of need to sort of put in the boiling pot, if you like, and think, well, you know, what is all this going to do for me? And that's why, you know, when I was talking to Mark about this, being someone that's worked inside out of organizations for a long time, as well as being a supplier of people that have done the same, you know, I've just been thinking, well, for me, that seems like the ideal match of being able to enable other people, but still work very closely with people in partnership and work in the areas of people stuff that I actually really, you know, have got a lot of experience in and get a lot out of. So yeah, I'm not an international athlete, and I don't think I'm going to be making any sort of team soon, but I'm pleased to be I'm pleased to be part of this team anyhow. But
Well, yes, what a gift you are to our world. And it's such perfect timing that we anchor in the power of purpose. And so many times for purpose, we think that's personal and it's a personal journey. And certainly it is from a personal perspective. Let's talk about organizational purpose and how that can be transformational inside an organization for high performance and making an organization healthy for healthy profits. I mean, there's so many new ways to look at purpose based on the gift of COVID, the experience that we have gone through. It's really awakened us to understand just how important the human to human connection is, how important living on purpose is. And I just want to be able to share with our team what you've learned as you've anchored into purpose and really set up this company designed to be transformational for purpose.
Yes, I'll kick off, Neil, and then pass the ball over to you. Neil's a soccer player, so if I do pass it to him, I'm going to break the rules because I have to pass it like a rugby player.
Still a soccer player.
Yeah, on organisational purpose, look, I think the first thing is, and you brought this up, Carlette, there's never been more awareness of the need for purpose. There's probably arguably never been a better time for the authentic integration of purpose. And there's never been probably as much buy-in as there is right now. And I think that's only going to increase as organizations that do work similar to us and ourselves start to prove the power of purpose from what, as Neil said, is inside out, and the intersection of people, purpose and performance. And that is the key piece to this. So when you look at that from an organizational perspective against that kind of landscape, we take our own version essentially of the Japanese model Ikigai, which stands for reason for being, and we reapplied it to companies and sort of said, well, okay, from a company's perspective, the company should be focused on, and therefore the individuals in the company, because that's all a company is a system of individuals working towards, you know, shared goals and shared purpose. So what are those people passionate about? What are they good at and can they be world class at? How does that drive their economic performance? Because at the end of the day, whether you're a non-profit or a for-profit, you still need to be generating a profit to be able to invest back into your growth. And most importantly as well, what impact can we have on the world to leave the world in a better place? And our vision is a better world with purpose. And so, and you look at those four intersecting pieces, the high performance happens at the intersection of all four. And in order for that high performance to happen, you also need to be looking at individual purpose and helping leaders and emerging leaders and managers and team leaders and everybody that contributes in the business apply their own personal purpose to what they do day to day. And so whenever you can get personal purpose and organizational purpose aligned, the bigger the overlap, the bigger the impact and the bigger the performance. And so that's essentially our rough model with organizations. And we have a complementary program that we work on with individuals as well, which we can obviously talk about in a little bit. Neil, yeah, what did I miss?
What did you miss? Well, between you, there was a lot of coverage there, which just demonstrates how wide the subject is, right? I mean, I think that the important element of it in a company as well is the leaders and the leadership and the role that they actually play in it. I mean, if I think back over the years and years where, you know, we've done values or culture projects or, you know, things which could be, you know, real activators for galvanizing an organization, and actually it's either stayed on the piece of paper or it's been stuck on a poster, and people are kind of told that they've got to remember it and then they can't, and then it sort of falls by the wayside. I think that, you know, the role of leadership in all of that kind of project-based work, which can activate a whole organization around something like purpose, you know, can't be underestimated really. And I think that people need to be behaving, believing, understanding what part they play, and all this is wrapped up in why am I here, why am I doing it? And I think if we think about why that is the case and why that's a big thing, it's because if you don't have that connection to what you're doing on a Zoom call for 9-10 hours a day, particularly in the current world that we live in, you know, everyone's on a little screen most of the time, or has been for the last year. And I think that has really amplified the you know, the activation that purpose can drive, as in, well, we all understand that. And you know, perhaps that's a segue into well-being from the perspective that we need to really look out for one another, and we need to be part of the same team and have a lot of the same common threads. And the major one is, for me, purpose, because why are we even on this call, right?
Well, Neil, thank you. Well said. And, you know, you coming from a human resource background, why would a company, or should a company, or, you know, anyone that's interested in getting involved in really this transformation of living on purpose, working on purpose, being for each other, why would they go from where they are today to investing in living and working on purpose?
I think there's a lot of answers to that. I think one I'm going to pick out, though, is one that we read last week, actually. It was a really good piece from McKinsey, which, and back to the leadership point, you know, that they've done a survey of 2,000 organizations in the US, and 85% of senior managers and leadership thought that they could demonstrate and live their purpose in their role in their organization, which was, you know, great. Same
Good
survey, same survey, 85% of more junior managers and staff didn't think they could. I think you have to, I mean, that's paraphrasing the article, but, you know, the impact of that in terms of engagement, performance, understanding meaning, what you actually think you're going to be coming out with in terms of outcomes around impact, has got to be affected by that. That statistic. So I think, you know, it's what's happening in the gunnels of an organization to actually use that as a powerful activator around purpose, as opposed to something that we're trying to do. I think we just need to do more with it, and that's why we set up the organization, to do more with people.
People and purpose, what a great combination. And so one thing that I think is such a winning strategy for the work that we're all invested in from a purpose perspective is that you've brought together a team of people to really be able to ignite the power of team and to serve your clients on a level that has great variety and gives that gift of many people, serving people so that we create this on purpose transformation. So Mark, you want to share a bit about the team?
Yeah, it's one of the things I'm most excited about, actually, because it's actually very unique in two ways for us, our team. The first way is that we really authentically have this 360-degree view of purpose. So from people like Neil, who have lived this and lived the change and the elements around purpose with people, so very much a people perspective, and yourself, Carlette, as a master coach who's coached organizations and leaders and people through change on purpose, to people with marketing and agency backgrounds and entrepreneurs, and people like myself that have had kind of like a purpose thread throughout both, kind of like big finance careers and non-profit career and a sports commercial career. And so we've really got a 360-degree view of it, which is so important to the points that Neil was talking about before in an organization, because you can't just take an organizational approach on purpose when you're working in an organization. You need to look at the 360-degree view of how that galvanizes their stakeholders and impacts their stakeholders, because everything now is stakeholder based, not shareholder based, as the non-profit world has been for forever. So I think that's probably the most critical piece of it. But the other part for our team is, and I just added this up the other day, I've known our team members for 123 years. So what, right? So why is that important? Well, it's important because tons of research and evidence points to high-performing teams. One of the key elements for them is cohesion. And cohesion's obviously based somewhat on intuition, but it's also on confidence and on communication and on trust and on competence and everything. And so the reality is I can look at my team members with absolute 100% unconditional trust, confidence, know exactly how they're going to approach something, how we're going to work together on something. And as a result of that, because we've got those reps, even though some of those reps were when we were mates at school, kicking around a soccer ball or running around a rugby ball, that dynamic kind of energy comes across when we engage with clients, and ultimately it enriches the engagement experience. So to me, that's what I'm most excited about, working with people I've known for years, I trust, I respect, and I really love working with. So what a great opportunity that is for us, and therefore for our clients.
So team, as you listen to this conversation, I hope that you are being inspired to really go for this transformational change, anchor in purpose. And so Mark and Neil, we've got the team interested. They're saying, yes, we want this. Now what? What happens from wanting to making a reality? How do we do it?
I'll tee up the answer and then I'll let Neil answer it. Well, this is a little test of how we can answer on the fly. The tee up is, it depends on the company and the organization, and say company, but it is organization, because we'll be working with for-profits, non-profits, B Corps, you name it, any organization, educational institutions that wants to, live and work on purpose. So it depends on them. And I think based upon what they need, we have different things that we can offer. So we've either got a holistic approach, or we've got this very much individual build from bottom up approach. So I'll pass the rugby ball through the screen to Neil to answer the question.
The hospital pass, that was.
I should have thrown it up in the air.
Expect me to catch that. So I think that, where do we go from here? I think that, the power of the team that we've got gives us lots of opportunities to do different things with different people. And for me, around the whole aspect of what we've spoken about today, which essentially has been an explanation of our end-to-end life cycle of what might happen on any one engagement, I think, we just need to appreciate that different companies and organizations, and indeed different people, will all be at different stages with a different appreciation of what this means, with different needs. And that's really important to consider, because absolutely one size doesn't fit all, which is why we've got a complementary team of people from all sorts of different backgrounds. Mark said, I think you added it up, didn't you? It was like 125 years you've known everyone, or we've known everyone, or something. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
it's anywhere between 123 and 127, just because I can't remember back that far for some of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Performance barrier, right?
So, you know, second Star Wars analogy of the week, if you saw his podcast earlier in the week, but yeah, I feel like Yoda when he says, right, we've known people for 125 years or something. But I think that, you know, what that does do is it gives us a lot of strength and breadth in terms of understanding different people's perspectives, different organizations, and different drivers in terms of what we need to do to achieve what people want in terms of their outcome, whether that's individually or collectively, either as an organization or a team. So yeah,
I just add in that, Carlette, I think because part of our job is to make purpose pointy, right? And so pointiness starts with the point of impact, which is what are their desired outcomes? What is it they want to achieve? And then we work back. Now, in some instances, they're looking for an entire purpose-driven transformation, culture and change program that's all on purpose. We're going to go through our entire Aspire, Collaborate, Transform process, bring in all of our specialist people to sort of in the middle calibrate aspirational where they want to be, currently where they are, and then coach and support and facilitate and train various different levels of people through the organization to get there. And that's one thing that sets us apart, is that we will always follow through, you know, to the end. The types of outcomes that companies will be looking for us will be things like, obviously, employee engagement, employee well-being, resilience, contribution, commitment, connectivity between team. And I think if you look at those as sort of things that we can help in the short term, they all drive towards longer term outcomes, which essentially are going to be the things that set these companies apart from the ones that aren't living on purpose. And that is retaining, as we said before, the right people in the right roles, doing the right things, which is retaining talent and also attracting talent, especially as they're going to be attracting the younger generation who care about working on companies that contribute to something bigger than themselves and make some impact in the world.
So let's talk about well-being and purpose, because that's such a powerful combination, and just the desired outcomes that you expressed in terms of what a company would be able to experience as soon as they're purpose-driven and they're able to be living and working and coaching and transforming and all those amazing things. How does that contribute to the well-being of the organization as well as the well-being of the individual?
I think that from the point of view of, you know, where can we contribute? I think that on an individual basis, for people to feel really engaged and really energized and really in, you know, the right place to live a purpose-driven life, both in their own life and in an organization or a work context, there's lots of things that come into play as to whether or not they feel equipped to do that. And I think that, you know, some of the things which I was quite keen to add into what we were able to sort of take to people was an element of personal coaching and life coaching. Carlette, you'll know this better than anyone. You know, that's critical to the overall holistic process of, are we able to live with purpose in our organization or individually? And that's absolutely important, because each individual person needs to process it and feel it to be able to contribute and to be able to feel, you know, really, really well at home with all the things that's going to allow them to deliver for themselves and meet the objectives that they've got, whatever it is.
So Neil, what I really value about that statement from a life coaching perspective is, when we started life coaching, I think it's been 22 years now, so we've been at this a long time, is that people were like, well, what is life coaching? Like, what's the value of life coaching? We know executive coaching, that's coaching executives for performance. And what's really interesting about that thought is that if you think about in sports, even when you're a peewee and you say, hey, I'm going to go play rugby or I'm going to go play soccer, the first thing you do is have a coach. And the desired outcome of having that coach is that that coach is for you. And they are on the sidelines watching, being able to coach you up, being able to see your game and your strengths and how you play and how you connect with other people. And so it's so important when we think about this term coach, because it's been used many times in many different ways over the last 20 something years as life coaching has been introduced. And so as we talk about the power of purpose, really having a coach for your life and the ability to honor who you are as a person brings you to your professional game at your highest level. So rather than just coaching the person to be better at, their profession, it's how can you be your best self? In our work, it would be 3 dimensions: personal, professional, and philanthropic. I know that aligns beautifully with what you're doing. That's why we're on the same team. And so, just really, I want to introduce that new language. As you think of life coaching in the work that we're doing, we're coaching a person's life for them to be able to live a life on purpose and be able to show up at work their very best self, at home their best self, in their communities. So really bringing that life coaching into the well-being component, because that shows that you value me as a person, not just as a performance in terms of what can you get done for me at work. Instead, it's from a well-being perspective. We care so much about you that we're committed to coaching you up from a whole person perspective so that our company is whole. So I know, Mark, you and I go way back on this and can talk a lot about it. So Neil did a great job of really, how do we anchor purpose and well-being for individuals? What are your thoughts from a team perspective?
Yeah, well, if you, coming back to something I said earlier, if you just simplify and forget all the organizational models and all the complexities, simplify organizations to being groups of people and teams of smaller groups of people that contribute towards a department or a function and towards the organization as a whole. The stronger and more enriched everybody's individual well-being is, the better the team is. Assuming that you've still, regardless, that'll be an impact. It'll be more of an impact if you've got all the right people on the team doing the right things, and you also focus on the team's well-being or on the organization's well-being. So I think when you start looking at it from an organizational perspective, organizational well-being would be measured in part by what objectives and goals that particular organization measures success on. To us, and for any organizations we work with, we will want to infuse impact into those objectives to drive more purpose into those objectives, and then into how those objectives get actually actioned, so that they have more meaning for each individual and for each team that's contributing towards them. So the corporate or organizational well-being will be essentially looking at whatever they currently measure and showing that it gets a little bit stronger, in addition to measuring how the embedding of purpose has helped with all of those individual wellness outcomes. So things like people just feeling, understanding their role, understanding their contribution, getting meaning from their work, feeling energized and enthusiastic and creative, and all of the sort of components you might want of a particular employee. And so it's again kind of like that top-down, bottom-up approach. And I think the other part of it for well-being is that purpose is a starting point. Purpose is an anchor and a North Star at the same time. It's something that everybody has themselves and can discover themselves, but it's something that the organizational layer of purpose can be something that everybody connects to and everybody contributes to. And having that anchor there, as well as this sort of aspirational kind of North Star that it drives towards, which should be in corporate speak a vision, or even maybe a dream, is what really lifts everybody's well-being up and supports everybody in wanting to get there together. So I think teams, from a team perspective, it just starts with, what are the objectives? How do we infuse those objectives with impact? And how do we work back to the individual members in the team and get each member of the team working on the specific area that has the most meaning to them and where they can contribute and share their passions and strengths to the benefit of the greater good?
Well, one of the winning strategies for well-being is a sense of belonging. And so you've articulated that beautifully, anchored in purpose with the North Star as purpose, and just being able to belong to a vision, to a company, to a team of people that are going for the same mission and really going for something that's bigger than themselves. We know that to be something that is so empowering for a person to play a small role in something bigger than themselves. And to do that on purpose is such a gift of well-being. And so as we think about just living on purpose, each one of you have made a kind of a true change and a big commitment to this. You've somewhat left your other jobs and you've started a new journey and you've made a commitment to live this and to really invest in what you know is your purpose. So tell us some words of wisdom, what you wish you would have known, what you want to tell kind of the next gen coming up that's all about how to live on purpose and go for exactly the life that you have the courage to do. So Neil, what are your thoughts on that? Words of
Yeah,
wisdom, my dear.
yeah, that's good, right? The next gen. I was thinking about that this week, because when I was next gen, before we had mobile phones and stuff like that, and I was just thinking, right, well, you know, what's important to me and why would I go and get a job? Right, I know why, because I want to get a flat and enjoy myself, and that's probably about it. And that wore off pretty quickly. And then you're left thinking, and if I think back, you know, 20 odd years ago, why was I doing that? And why was I doing that for such a long period of time? And I might have moved job for a change of wallpaper or something like that. But, you know, why was the why? And I think right now I've come around and I've actually understood that I didn't, if I'm absolutely honest, I didn't have that early in my career. And I think that it's grown more and it's just got stronger. And certainly over the past 5 years, you know, and now I'm kind of, it's culminated in starting PurposeFused. I'm pretty clear about it, really, you know, as in, why am I doing this? And you know, why, you know, it's dark out there. Why am I on the phone to you when it's dark out there? Apart from the pubs being shut.
Yeah, performance barrier.
Yeah. But you know, if you think about it, you know, I've almost come full circle from that. So words of wisdom to, you know, to the next generation is, you know, just be true to yourself and don't think you can't have why you want to be somewhere. You know, focus on what it is, you know, understand what it is, really interrogate yourself and think. And you know what? Take some time to think about it. It's not a rush, not a race. You know, just think really deeply, be true to yourself, stick to your guns, and make it happen through reflection and a plan. Yeah, don't just think you got to do something because it's what everyone else is doing. And I think that's kind of like a bit of a layman's purpose message for you, but it's one where I was at.
Yeah,
And
no,
it's probably going to be other people too. I can't be the only one, right?
well, I think you're speaking right into the heart of people, and that's what we, you know, value so much, is really that champion heart, that person that has the courage to reflect, to ask questions, to go for something, to fail at it. What did we learn? How are we going to do this? And I'm just so excited that that's the mission of this purposeful work, is to take the next gen and really anchor them in the understanding of how to get coached up to live on purpose, and then start with our leaders that are already in the legacy zone and have them be able to do the same work from a purpose perspective. So Mark, as you watch your film and think about your life and words of wisdom, what shows up for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually interviewing Kevin Roberts tomorrow, and one of the things he talks about is your ABCs. And I hope I put it right, but if I was translating it into my own language, it would be aspire, believe, and courage, right? So having some aspiration, believing in yourself, and being courageous enough to sort of follow that. And I think that that's an experience, right? But it's also a mindset. And so I'd say the earlier you are in your journey, purpose discovery is a journey, and it's something that happens over time. It's just an amalgamation of your experiences, reflecting back on them as to the challenges you've overcome and some of the best experiences you've had, and aspiring forward as to the dream and the vision and the things you'd love to try to achieve, and then trying to summarize that into something that you care about. So I'd say the earlier you are on the journey, do stuff you enjoy. As you build upon that, do stuff you enjoy that you're really good at, and then do stuff you enjoy that you're good at that you can actually spend more time on, because it enables you to live your life, whatever you choose that to be, and allow yourself to discover your purpose on your journey, which, as Neil said, was part of what happened to him, and it's part of what happened to me. I did not know what my purpose was when I was working in banking for 9 years. I actually didn't know what my purpose was when I quit the banking job and set up the charity. I was purely following a passion. But by following the passion, and it was my strengths, and it was something I was good at and something I really believed in, I was essentially forming something that became my purpose and enabled me to discover my purpose. So I think those things are key. And to summarize it in PurposeFused language, if you come back to that PurposeFused formula, right, which is passion, impact, and application. What's your passion? What do you care about? What are you good at? What do you enjoy? What impact do you want to have on the world, on yourself, on the people you're closest to, and on the world as large? So I say me, we, world. And then, okay, so what are the different ways you can do that? How do you apply that? How you apply it's the piece that's probably always going to change. The passions and the impact probably will remain pretty consistent every decade, but you'll probably apply it differently as you go. And that's okay. So anchor yourself in passion and impact, do what you love, do what you enjoy, and then allow yourself to apply it in the best way you can at that time.
Well, team, those are champion words spoken with great passion and great purpose. And so it's up to you now. Go out and live a life on purpose. Be a champion for your well-being. And Neil and Mark, thank you so much for having the courage to launch this new company that you have, and to really give the gift of passion and purpose to our world. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Carlette.
Thanks, Carlette. Thanks so much for having us.
Okay, team, it's up to you. Go out and live that purpose-driven life. And Mark and Neil and myself are here to serve and support you so that you can become a champion for your well-being.